Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Very Cold Lasagna Podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Lasagna, and this is episode number 289 of this icy yet spicy podcast for all your filthy casual takes on the world of sports for you casual fans out there like you and me. And in this episode, we're here for another edition of the 49ers Weekly Roundup, our week in review for the red and gold. This is the third edition of it as we look back at the week that was for my San Francisco 49ers and the upcoming weekend that will be for my team in the NFL. So yeah, last week it was kind of a slow one, but also one worthy of some news and not so great way. And we're gonna get into it as we get ready for an all elite weekend, another weekend of football for the 49ers. So yeah, we're here to discuss it with all the red and gold fans out there, whether you're here in the Bay Area or somewhere out there in the world, that enjoys the 49ers like I do. Yeah, we're going to discuss it here in our red and gold weekly roundup here on Very Cold Lasagna in this episode of the podcast. So speaking of the podcast, make sure you like and subscribe here on YouTube if you're watching it on there. And leave a comment down below with your takes on the topic at hand. And that is what we're discussing the week that was, week number 3, and the week that will be week number 4 for the red and gold, my 49ers. And if you're listening to this on the audio side of things, whether it's on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to leave a review and give me some feedback. Give it some 5 stars. But no, seriously, leave me some feedback because it means the world to me. And follow the show, follow the podcast on social media, on X and Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. And yeah, follow me for more filthy casual takes on there. And yeah, with that being said, let's get right into the show. Let's get right into the third edition of our weekly roundup for the 2025 San Francisco 49ers. So this past week, they took on the Arizona Cardinals in the first home game, the first ever home game for the 2025 campaign. After a long stretch, and yeah, it felt long because they were away from home for two games for 2 straight weeks as they beat the Seattle Seahawks. They beat the New Orleans Saints, and now they were finally home. They were finally home. They were finally home. They told the world that they were finally home. Yeah, as they took on a division rival, their second division rival in 3 weeks, the Arizona Cardinals. So this was a Cardinals team that was coming off a win, but not really a win because they almost blew a 27-3 lead. And yeah, they had to hold on for dear life to beat the Carolina Panthers. And yeah, they didn't really seem all that happy about that win. So obviously, with this being a division matchup, pretty much, yeah, a lot was at stake for both teams. For Arizona, you obviously want to go get your first division win. For my 49ers, they already have a division win in Seattle, and getting one here against Arizona would put you up big already within the division. So obviously a lot of play for the 49ers in this one. And this game was pretty much not a lot going on. There wasn't a lot going on in this game. And even for someone like me that was kind of busy, I had to tend to a couple of things around the house. And even though I tried so hard to keep up with the game because I was, I'll just keep it a buck. I just came home from weekend getaway, camping. I tried to keep my best to keep up with this game, but a lot of moving parts. Had to put shit away, but I'm not going to complain about that because life happens. Life happens, especially when you get home from a camping trip. But even when I was doing all that, there wasn't really much going on in home opener for my San Francisco 49ers. But looking at from the Cardinals side of things, it was all about the defense for most of this game. Well, you could speak about that for my San Francisco 49ers too. But for the Cardinals, it was all about defense for 3 quarters because of the following. The defensive front of Calais Campbell, Dalvin Tomlinson, Josh Sweat, Zaven Collins, they were heavily pressuring Mac Jones, who obviously is an immobile quarterback, which especially rang true when we talk about the 49ers side of things. They heavily pressured Mac Jones. They kept Christian McCaffrey in check. Like they barely let CMC run in this game at all. So yeah, they severely limited the rushing attack in this game. And even though they let Ricky Pearsall go ham in the air, the secondary did its job pretty much. Max Milton, Denzel Burke playing in for the injured Will Johnson, and Budda Baker at safety. They wouldn't let the 49er passing attack go beyond 10 or more yards, other than, like I said, Ricky Pearsall, who is, again, having a really good campaign so far, just 3 games in. So overall, for 3 quarters, the defense held their own against a 49ers team that was trotting out a backup quarterback. And yeah, even though it still had a all-star running back in Christian McCaffrey, they pretty much held them in check. So on the other hand, the Cardinals offense, they had a pretty good game plan too, in the face of an also tough 49er defensive front. And the game plan was to tire out that Niner defensive front by running the ball a million times with James Conner and Kyler Murray, using his legs to extend drives, even if not for chunk runs, other than 1 or 2 chunk runs. But here's where the problem lies and why this game was such a stalemate for most of it. Arizona let the 49ers hang around for way too long, and that was because they couldn't finish drives. They couldn't finish the execution. They couldn't, I wouldn't say finish the story in this game. I guess you can. But yeah, that was the thing. The Arizona Cardinals offense in this game, they couldn't finish drives. They had multiple 6+ minute drives. They were on the field for half of a quarter, and they only had 2 field goals to show for it. Also, 1 missed, by the way, in the opening drive of the whole game. They had 6 points to show for it before the 4th quarter. Yeah, that's not going to win you games. That's not going to win you games at all. Why was that? Well, look at Kyler Murray throwing several off-target throws to receivers. James Conner only having 1 big run. And then when Kyler Murray was able to be on target with his receivers, you have them badly dropping catchable balls. And one of the most notable droppable balls that his receivers had was Marvin Harrison Jr. Marvin Harrison Jr. had a great opportunity to go off in this game, but instead he didn't. He didn't. And one of those notable instances that I talked about just 5 seconds ago was a wide open catch. A wide open catch, dead in the right, nobody around him, no corner, no safety, no linebacker, and he drops the ball. He literally drops the ball dead in the right of his hand. It's like it just drops like Butterfinger. And I'm not talking about the candy. It's like maybe he couldn't believe it wasn't butter, and maybe he used way too much of it, and he dropped the ball. Even Fred Warner's like, "What the hell are you doing, man? What the hell are you doing?" So, yeah, Marvin Harrison Jr. was not exactly doing. He's sure he made a few nice plays or two. He finally realized that, oh, I gotta catch this damn ball. But and he was kind of like wide open on a few plays, but then that was just an inexcusable catch, an inexcusable bad beat by Harrison Jr. So for the Arizona Cardinals, their best effort came in the 4th quarter when Murray led a quick response touchdown drive after the 49ers finally got going on offense. So they tied the game at 13 all. Corner Adrian Taylor Demerson. I can't pronounce that name. I'm sorry for all the people that I get on my butt for misreading names. So he intercepts Max Jones, and Calais Campbell forced Dominic Booney into an end zone holding call that gave Arizona a safety to lead 15-13 late in the game. And it seemed like Arizona was going to pull away from this one thanks to a safety. Out of all things to win this game on, potentially, was a safety. But just like it has been pretty much all game for the Cardinals, they couldn't finish it. They couldn't finish the story of this game because, well, on 3rd down, what was it? Zay Jones. Zay Jones couldn't secure the catch. He let it get punched out by Upton Stout, and gave the 49ers one last chance to go down, even with Mac Jones all hobbled up. And they went on to win the game with Eddie Dinero Pinheiro to win that game. So in essence, the Cardinals had plenty of opportunities to pluck their way to a win, but instead, as they head into that Thursday night game against the Seahawks, yet another division game with those weird ass rivalries uniform. I know it's like, what is that? I mean that's just me. I'm not sure about that rivalries uniform, by the way, like from Arizona. But it is what it is. I prefer one or two of the other rivalries uniform, but Arizona's looks like you just took something out from the laundry and it's like, what happened here? Did you mix the colors? But in all seriousness though, Arizona, like if they hadn't whether they had or had not against Seattle, but prior to that, they're going to be kicking themselves regardless, whether they had won or lost that game against Seattle the following Thursday, because they lost a winnable game prior to the 49ers because their sloppiness on the tiniest of details, like that bad offense, offensive execution, droppable balls, all the minor details, which has pretty much been a theme so far for the Cardinals, especially in the last 2 weeks against Carolina and in this game against the 49ers. So for my 49ers, looking on their side of the ball, pretty much it's been the same story for Arizona too. Mainly a defensive effort for Robert Saleh's squad, even though they were on the field pretty much more than half of the game because of the offense. And they, again, had high difficulty with a mobile quarterback in Kyler Murray for godforsaken reason. I don't know why they have such a problem with containing mobile quarterbacks like Kyler. But anyway, still, his defense limited him when it mattered most. Third down. They at least did a good job in containing Kyler on third down, especially in crunch time. Bryce Huff has been a very solid addition to this pass rush because his impact in the last two games has been a great assist to Nick Bosa. More on that in a bit, by the way, about Nick Bosa, and he's been a bigger pressure presence himself. So Huff's presence was felt when he forced Kyler to throw under pressure and incomplete on Arizona's first two possessions, as well as the last possession for the Cardinals. Aside from one chunk run by James Conner in this game, the run defense within Alfred Collins and CJ West, as well as Fred Warner, was really good for the 49er defense. The offense, however, was a much different story because, as with the Seattle game, they got off to a very slow start until their first two field goals before the end of the first half. Mac Jones, he pretty much had the offense on the field for like a minute and change. Like the first two possessions was pretty much like they were on there for like a Thanos snap, pretty much. His offensive line didn't do him any favors against a tough Arizona defensive line, but Jones also being a pure pocket quarterback, again, it goes back to his limitations. It goes back to how much he can do outside of a bunch of short passes and the occasional moon ball. But other than that, he doesn't have a lot of mobility, like being just that pure pocket quarterback that for some reason Kyle Shanahan just loves so much. Anyway, and Kyle Shanahan's game plan of heavily giving Dr. Christian McCaffrey CMC all the targets instead of just trusting pretty much all your receivers, which, by the way, where's Kendrick Bourne? Where's Kendrick Bourne? Where's Marquez Valdez-Scantling? Pretty much all the receivers, that they signed to fill the void of Brandon Ayuk. Like, where are they? Like, why is Kyle Shanahan not using them? So, yeah, you're pretty much giving all the targets to Christian McCaffrey, and even though Ricky Pearsall had a very good game, this past Sunday. Like, why is no one else being used? So, yeah, it's not exactly a good key to success for Shanahan to just give throw to Christian McCaffrey in the passing game and trying to get him going in the rushing game when Arizona's just ready for that. It was just ready for that. And you want to know the specific case of why exactly wasn't working for Dr. Christian McCaffrey? Well, look at how the 49ers were set up on a 1st and goal, 2nd and goal, 3rd and goal, and 4th and goal in the Arizona's 1 yard line. They had a prime opportunity to take over this game in the Arizona 1 yard line. They had 4 chances to score. And for the 3 of the 4 chances, Kyle Shanahan decided to let's have Christian McCaffrey run at the goal line 3 straight times. No, bitch. You have Christian McCaffrey throw at least run at least 1 to 2 times. And maybe interchange that with the run, pass. That's how it's supposed to work here. And then for some reason, Mac Jones then has to throw it on 4th down to Christian McCaffrey, only to get clapped right away and come away with no points. Yeah, that's the Kyle Shanahan experience for you. Like, I sometimes wonder what goes on in Shanahan's mind when he when it thinks of this situation. Like, really. But anyway, just like with Arizona, the Niners did have their best effort in the 4th quarter. Mac Jones did throw a nice moon ball to Ricky Pearsall that set up the touchdown to Kyle Juszczyk that got things going for both teams in this game after a long ass stalemate. But they pretty much nearly blew up all their momentum. And why nearly? Well, I'll get to that in a bit because Mac Jones inexplicably threw a stupid ass interception when there's nobody there. Or maybe I'm misinterpreting that. Maybe Ricky Pearsall stopped on his route and he got intercepted on that play. Or maybe Mac Jones just threw it straight away. But the cherry topper was that holding call by Dominic Pooney. Like, why are you doing that, man? Like, you can't be doing that. I get the offensive line is hot garbage, but yeah, you can't be committing mistakes like that and letting a safety happen. But yeah, oddly enough, like the Cardinals weren't flagged for intentional grounding, like within the end zone, because the whole body's got to be in there, but Kyle's arm was in there when he threw the ball. Yet they didn't get the safety. The 49ers didn't get a safety for that. They didn't get 2 points out of that. Huh? Okay then. But anyway, for all that though, like regardless of all that, I will say, for all the fuck ups, for how much they tried to give away this game, for all the questionable decisions with Kyle Shanahan in this game, I will give everybody this. I was pretty impressed with how the team responded to this one. The 3rd down stop from the defense, especially with Upton Stout, forcing Zay Jones to drop a pivotal catch that forced Arizona to punt. Mac Jones on a re-aggravated PCL, so like pretty much a re-aggravated leg injury he had in the 3rd quarter. He led the 2-minute drill quickly with quick yards at the catch passes, mainly to Christian McCaffrey, which included the critical one to CMC that's set up for the game winner. And when it came to the game winner, it was kind of like, okay, let's just hope that it's not a Jake Moody kind of situation. But instead, it ended up being the opposite of that, because Eddie was Dinero. He kicked a game winner to give the Niners a stressful but a gutsy win yet again, 16-15. And who knows, maybe we got a kicker after all. But it's only 2 weeks. We'll see what happens from there. But nonetheless, the Niners came away with another division win. And they're 3-0 to start. They were 3-0 to start the season as we go into week 4. So overall, with this game, still a lot to figure out with this team. Still very early as it pertains to this game. this happened this past Sunday in Week 3. Most of the game, especially offensively, was a stalemate because, well, both teams and their defenses, it just kept each other at bay. It was only until the fourth quarter where the offense finally woke up. But Arizona caught a lucky break with the safety, and seemed like they're well underway to winning that game until Mac Jones led the 2-minute drill very nicely. And Eddie Dinero got the game-winning field goal to get the win. When it comes to the Arizona Cardinals, like I said, they really should be beating themselves up, especially if they don't get that win Thursday night against the Seahawks, because they had a lot of chances to close out that game out of the self-induced mistakes by the Niners. But the play calling and Zay Jones's third down pass that was dropped, it pretty much sealed it. If they don't win that second division game against the Seahawks on Thursday, then they're really going to be beating themselves up. They can't go afford to go 0-2 in the NFC West. They just can't. So meanwhile, for my San Francisco 49ers, they're 2-0 in the NFC West. They got another gutsy win. Just as it been the theme in pretty much the first 3 weeks of the season. They're 3-0 overall. Just so pretty much like in the last 2 or 3 weeks, it did come at a price. It did come with yet another price of winning. Mac Jones currently day to day with that re-aggravated leg injury that he suffered in training camp. But more importantly, Nick Bosa is gone for the season. And why is he gone for the season? Well, he left the field in the second quarter with not exactly the greatest of injuries. More specifically, it was a torn ACL. Yeah, not exactly great news. So Nick Bosa is gone with the torn ACL. It was this time is the right ACL, and he pretty much knew it. And he was giving a thumbs down. But what was oddly weird is that nobody thought it was a torn ACL because he was doing high knees on the sideline. He was walking around okay, but unlike in 2020 against the Jets, he was carted out immediately. But this time he was pretty like moving around. But I guess it's just like the adrenaline effects. But it ended up being a torn ACL, and that just it just really hurts the defensive line in its depth. Sure, it's much deeper now, especially with all the investment that John Lynch did to get Nick Bosa some help. But Bosa is just an edge rusher that you just can't simply replace because of production and obviously, well, the big fat money that you gave him. So we have to give it some time. We have to see what awaits for this upcoming game against the Jaguars. And we have to wait and see what happens with the Rams game and then the Bucs game. It's too early to think about trades and moves for trying to offset Nick Bosa's injury, because obviously you can't right now, and maybe not even for the rest of the season. But I will say that John Lynch will eventually have to do something to account for his loss. So as we look ahead to Week 4 against the all elite Jacksonville Jaguars, the all eliteness is not hosting this one. We're not going to the land of all elite like we did 2 years ago. This time we're hosting the all eliteness as we take on Tony Khan's Jacksonville Jaguars. They got a new head coach in Liam Cohen. Pretty much Trevor Lawrence is still there. You have a few new fresh faces there. But when it comes to the Jacksonville Jaguars so far, they're 2-1 on the season. And last week against the Houston Texans, they were pretty much in a struggle fest against their division rivals. But they managed to get out the win 17-10, thanks to a late red zone touchdown by Travis Etienne. And a game-sealing interception by Antonio Johnson on C.J. Stroud. And when you look at the Jacksonville Jaguars, they have a pretty nice defense that's been doing pretty well for them and kind of carrying the the Jaguars to 2 of their wins so far. They didn't do exactly well against the Bengals, even though they pretty much had every opportunity to win that game. But so far, it's been pretty mixed results for Jacksonville. So some of the players to watch in this game for the Jaguars, it's obviously Trevor Lawrence, because he's had very mixed performances in these first 3 games as he and the rest of the offense continue to learn Liam Cohen's system. It pretty much explains why he is kind of not up to par right now. He'll have some good moments, but then he'll have some bad moments, like in the Cincinnati game where he had multiple opportunities to, have his team score, connect with his receivers, but then he ends up throwing an interception in the end zone. So yeah, this is a game where, who knows, maybe Trevor Lawrence will finally get above that learning curve of Liam Cohen's offense. So yeah, he does have a chance against a kind of depleted 49ers defense that's now without Nick Bosa. So we'll see how things go. Then we have the hybrid rookie Travis Hunter, who has been pretty quiet so far on both ends, whether it's as a receiver or as a cornerback. But he is at least part of like I said, a good defense that has been key in their 2 wins. It's just that Hunter has not played a key role yet in said 2 wins. But like I said, with Trevor Lawrence, it's only a matter of time before Travis Hunter has a breakout game. Will it come in this one? We'll see. Meanwhile, on the 49ers side of things, Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has been making strong progress in his return. He has a strong chance to return from that turf toe injury. We'll get into the injury report, but if he continues to progress well, he's more than likely to be back Sunday. And then we look at whoever's going to replace Nick Bosa. Obviously, like I said, losing him is a major blow to the defensive line, and it's going to place more pressure on whoever's replacing him on that side. We don't know exactly what the game plan is going to be in replacing Nick Bosa in the front 4 as a whole, but in my opinion, in my filthy casual opinion, I could see Bryce Huff having to play on that side, while the rookie Mykel Williams, for as raw of a prospect as he is, as a pure pass rusher, he's probably gonna have to see an even bigger role than what he has faced so far. But at the same time, they did sign back Robert Beal Jr. Back onto the active roster as a corresponding move for now, after initially being waived, and then he got signed back to the practice squad. So yeah, they're probably going to use Robert Beal Jr. More now than ever. So yeah, this is going to be a first big test for the 49ers front 4, regardless, because, well, like I said, Nick Bosa is not easily replaceable. So looking at the injury report for both of these teams, the Jaguars don't really have too much to worry about right now. In the receiving game, there really isn't much, other than their top man, De'Ami Brown. He hasn't practiced yet with a shoulder injury that he suffered in this past week's game against the Texans. So if he can't go, you got to expect more from Parker Washington, and hopefully you get something out of Travis Hunter. Meanwhile, for the 49ers, obviously it's been a lengthy list. It's been a lengthy list ever since the season started and way before the season started. Obviously, you have Brock Purdy. He's been practicing, trying to progress back from the turf toe injury. From what I've been hearing with John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, and then obviously the dirt sheet writers like Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter, he is making his way back to returning this game, but it's dependent on how things go in the final practice this Friday. And his backup, Mac Jones, he's also been limited with the PCL sprain that he suffered in the Arizona game. He looked pretty hobbled in the late stages of that Arizona game, but he at least was kind of practicing this in the first 2 days before the Jaguars game. Maybe it's a way for Kyle Shanahan to keep playing mind games on who's going to start against the Jaguars, but it's more than likely going to be Purdy, unless there's a setback. Ricky Pearsall, he did practice this week despite some knee soreness. Although he did say he is going to play on Sunday, so at least that's some good news. Juwan Jennings, he hasn't practiced yet because of an ankle injury, which is not promising for the receiving core. So if he can't go, then not good. But what is good somewhat is DeMarcus Robinson, the receiver that the 49ers signed in free agency, and he kind of looked decent in preseason. So he served a 3-game suspension to start the season, and honestly, it kind of flew by, to be honest with you. And it don't look like the Niners kind of didn't really miss too much of a beat on offense, even though I said earlier that Kyle Shanahan should really trust whatever he has at receiver other than McCaffrey and Pearsall. So he's back at practice after serving a 3-game suspension. He's now ready to go for this game against the Jaguars. So take it as a small win for the play at receiving core. They'll just continue to keep getting depth once Brandon Ayuk is fully healthy. So speaking of Brandon Ayuk, John Lynch noted on, I think it was on KNBR or on one of his pressers this week, that Ayuk is not yet close to returning from the ACL tear. And I'm like, what? Like, huh? Like, how far are we into his recovery? I mean, I'm not a doctor, but that's just not exactly encouraging to hear. So hopefully we'll get we get a little closer than expected, but this is not exactly great news. CJ West, he had thumb surgery, and it's gonna be a wait and see on if he's gonna play. In whether it's with the hand cast or maybe he's too good to play with that hand cast. But having CJ West out there, it's gonna make a difference. And if it's not there, then that'll suck. So looking at some of the keys to victory for both of these teams, for the Jaguars, they're like the passing attack has to get going, because sure, it's had its moments, especially in that Bengals game, but it's been pretty stagnant so far. It's been pretty stagnant. Trevor Lawrence has been too inconsistent, but I feel like this is a week where even though the 49ers defense is still pretty good, even without Nick Bosa there, which they'll have to adjust to, I feel like that secondary, for as young as it is, they have been making some pretty solid plays. So Trevor Lawrence and that passing attack, they really have to get going in this game. They really have to start making some learning and good moves in this game. Otherwise, they're going to be playing catch up in this one very hard. They can't just keep relying on the rushing attack of Brian Thomas and Travis Etienne. Oh wait, no, Brian Thomas got traded to the Eagles. Right. And so either way, they just can't rely on the running game. And then Travis Hunter, he has to also start picking up steam as well. I feel like Trevor Lawrence has to start targeting him more, and Hunter obviously has to step up his game too. For my San Francisco 49ers, I pretty much said this pretty often. Someone in the front four really needs to emerge as a potential Nick Bosa rest of season fill-in, whether that be Bryce Huff, Mykel Williams, Robert Beal, whoever that is that's gonna like take that spot that Nick Bosa left behind. They gotta step up. The next man, they have to have that next man up mentality, and I'm hopeful that Robert Saleh will get that dog mentality out of them. So starting with this game against the Jaguars and their offensive line, which is honestly not as I wouldn't say as good, but it's still kind of decent. But regardless, they have to get something for a I would say not exactly a Nick Bosa-esque player. They have to find at least a viable fill-in because Nick Bosa is gone. And then offensively, the offense has to get off to a faster start, and they got to close out strong. Like these, even though they've won 3 games, the offense has started out way too slow. Like in the first game against Seattle, sure, they scored on their opening drive, but then they disappeared completely after that. And then in the Saints game, sure, they scored pretty. That was like the only game that they started off fast and finished strong. But then here we go in the Arizona game. Started off very slow. They only had 6 points to show for it in the first half. And then I guess you could say they did close out strong in that one. But what I'm saying is they need to accelerate the gas pedal and then keep going from there, and then close out strong, close the gap, maybe score more, get that first down, and win the game. I just want to see more from this offense, especially now that Brock Purdy, who, by the way, still has that big fat contract, got to start living up to it. So, yeah, this is gonna be a game of attrition, a big test for this 49ers team. Even though it's the all-elite Jaguars. I mean, I'm not downplaying the all-elite Jaguars, but in terms of the 49ers and who they lost and, who's returning, yeah, this is going to be a test for them, and what their mentality is going to be like this Sunday against a Jaguars team that is still on a learning curve. So even though they're on that learning curve, the 49ers should not downplay that. So they better not downplay that. So, yeah, the 49ers, all they have to do is win, especially going into a very short week, going into LA on another division game, the third division game in like a month against the Rams in LA. So there's no rest for the weary for this 49ers team, especially entering into a kind of tough stretch in October. So you can't slack on this one. So let me know your thoughts on the 49ers and their upcoming game against the LA Rams, and your thoughts on their week 3 performance against the Arizona Cardinals, as these 3-0 Niners get ready to take on the all elite Tony Khan, Liam Cohen-esque Jacksonville Jaguars in the final game of their 2-game home stretch, as they look to go 4-0 on the 2025 campaign. Let me know in the comments on YouTube, or slide into the DMs on my socials on Instagram or X at Very Cold Lasagna. Let's start up a conversation on either week 3 or week 4 for my 49ers. But anyway, that's going to do it for this episode of the Very Cold Lasagna Podcast. I have been your host, Dylan Lasagna. Thank you for tuning in and listening to this episode number 289 of this icy yet spicy podcast for all your filthy casual takes on the world of sports and for my San Francisco 49ers. And until the next Red and Gold weekly roundup edition of the podcast, and we'll definitely have some things to discuss on that next edition. And yeah, keep that lasagna very cold. But until then, peace out.